Today I'm in Red Ted and he's finally done. Driving him around, having a great time. It's running great. I've tuned it, I've got videos on that, and now it's just done and it's time to enjoy the car. If you don't know Red Ted is a red MX3 Mazda, and I installed a 2.5 V6 out of a Ford Pro, but it's the JDM version. So it's a Japanese engine that has higher compression, bigger cams, and a lot more party. So for this car, I made headers from complete scratch, and I just TIG welded the whole thing. I made collectors, I made the entire exhaust system, I installed a muffler in the front bumper. It has a front bumper exhaust. The wastegate is routed around the turbo. It's quite special what I've done to the exhaust system, and I am proud of that. I have also made a full water to air intercooler kit for this thing. Woo! She really rips now, and it has just enough power to have a good time, and it's not gonna break things like crazy. Things might break like axles or something like that. But it is going to be a reliable build, and I'm very excited about that. So a lot of you haven't followed me since day one with all my MX3s, and I honestly would not have owned this if I didn't physically need it. I bought this car for one reason and one reason only, and I needed an engine for the Suicide MX3 before I went to Hoonigan. So sit tight and I'm going to tell you the entire story. So I go to Michigan Grid Life every year with a few buddies from Canada, and we literally just go and watch and enjoy people drifting, and we just have a good time, have a couple drinks, and just literally have a chill weekend. And I always bring the Suicide MX3 on a trailer to show it off so people can enjoy the car and really enjoy car culture, to be honest. Just showing people, learning and experimenting, and looking at other people's vehicles. I had it in Michigan, and long story short, I saw the Hoonigan guys, and they're there every year. This was the first year I saw them. I saw them when I was in line to grab a alcoholic beverage, and they just so happened to be in line with me. And I started making conversation. We were having a good time. Next thing I knew, we were partying at our tent, which was our group of friends, and we were just having a good time. After about half an hour to an hour of partying and having a good time, they asked me, so Ty, what do you drive? And I said, well, I have a twin engine MX3. And they laughed and they laughed and they were like, okay, Ty, like, what do you actually drive? And I said, a twin engine MX3. I made it completely from a shell of an MX3 and intertwined a twin engine setup that is full of Ford Probe goodies. And they were like, yo, like, I totally want to see pictures of this. And I'm like, guys, it's around the corner. I have it on my trailer around the corner. Checked it out, and literally the first thing I did was I push started both the engines. Both engines were running, and with the engines completely cold, I went straight onto the two-step, and it was shooting flames like there was no tomorrow. And after about me sitting on the two-step for about 20 seconds, which is way too long, I actually put a rod right through the side of my block on the front engine in my Suicide MX3. And they were honestly so pumped. They were like, man, you don't care about anything. I'm like, and I'm like, honestly, yeah, I care about some things, but not this. So honestly, they were pumped about it, and they were like, you honestly gotta bring that car to Hoonigan. And I was like, okay, where is it? And they said, California. Honestly, I had no idea how far California was, and I googled it, and it's a 50-hour drive, and I was like, whoa, that's a drive, especially when I don't have a truck that is compatible to legally tow it. So at this point, I don't have an engine in the front of my MX3 because I just blew it up in Michigan. And number two, I don't have a truck and trailer that will literally make it to California. So while knowing all this in the back of my head, I agreed, and I said, yes, I will come no matter what. Honestly, looking back, it was a very ballsy move, but I don't regret it at all. It was probably the best decision I've ever made. It was a great memory. So we swapped emails, and I went back into Canada from Michigan, and I emailed them and said I will be there. So that was the first thing I did when I came back into Canada. The second thing I did when I came back into Canada is I started looking for an engine for the front of the MX3 that is twin engine. So I posted on Instagram that I needed an engine right away, and it didn't matter if it was stock or not stock. Honestly, I just needed something to run so I could button it up quick, take it down to Cali. And going through about 10 people that were willing to give me engines or sell me engines or whatever, I got a message from a guy named Anthony, and he had this MX3. This is Ted. I named Ted afterwards, but Ted had a fully built KLZE, and it was ready for some abuse. So this engine I'm talking about literally is the one that's in the back of the Suicide MX3 currently. But so I bought the car. I bought the car for a very, very cheap price, and I towed it back to my shop. And this car had a fresh paint job in 2014. It was red before, but it got resprayed, so it has a fresh-ish paint job. That's a plus. And fully built engine, which is definitely another plus. Plus all this beautiful interior. Besides the Suicide MX3, when I originally bought that, this is the second cleanest MX3 I've seen in my entire life. So continuing on with the story, is I bought this car for the engine, and that's all I wanted it for at that moment in time. Long story short, I pulled the engine out of this car, put it into the Suicide MX3, buttoned it up, and I went to California. So I put this car on the back burner and I pushed it aside into my lot, and it sat there without an engine in transmission for probably 4 months, and came back from California. And once I was back from California and done doing all the Hoonigan stuff, I was like, all right, it's time for me to get this car back in order and give it what it deserves and not be literally in parts sitting outside. So being the MX3 enthusiast I am, I pulled it into my shop and I had a plan. And that plan was to fully budget build a turbo setup for this thing while making it really, really unique and sweet. Most of all, OEM. That is the thing, front wheel drive, not cutting it up. OEM plus, that's what I'm saying. So I had a KF DE engine, and I had it sitting in the corner for quite a while because it wasn't a KLDE. I was actually sold the wrong engine. I ended up getting it for free. So I said this would be a perfect mock-up engine for a turbo setup. TIG welding headers from complete scratch, and I had so much fun doing it. I have a full how-to series on how I built the headers, and I'm gonna put the link right up here. But anyways, I built headers, I built the whole turbo kit, and I threw a blown up turbo onto it. And I knew it burnt oil, but I didn't care. I just wanted to get this thing making boost for really cheap. So right now, it was a stock engine that was free, and I put a blown turbo on it. So it was literally almost no money invested, and all the pipes that I made the headers with, I got for free from a friend because he worked at a factory that made pipes. So he gave all that stuff to me. So zero money in that build at that point. So I completed the headers and the turbo setup. I did not put a blow-off valve on or an intercooler. So it did have things that weren't complete-ish, but I physically couldn't make them because I didn't have a TIG welder that would do aluminum at that time. Now I do. Things have changed, as you can tell. As time goes on, I try and improve. But anyways, got the car running, and I took it onto the roads, and I had a blast with it. I basically ripped it around all of COVID, made lots of videos doing Mega Squirt data logging and tuning, which I'll link up here. So if you ever need to learn about data logging or tuning, Mega Squirt, and I basically got videos on everything from the bottom to the top. So I drove Ted when it was COVID, and literally there was nothing else to do. I was off work, so I just drove the car every day. Ripping here, ripping there, having a great time, enjoying the build. Oh, she pulls so hard in second gear. So the KFDE engines are known to have very, very, very weak rods, and I had it basically cranked up as high as I could get power-wise. Drove it around the max power I could possibly make out of that engine for a month. Just full tank of gas, full tank of gas, full tank of gas, and nothing but full sense. You know how I drive. Anyways, I ended up bending a rod when I was in COVID, so I put the car to sleep, I put it aside, and I said, I'm not gonna rip you apart until I can fix you. So I waited until I was done driving the Suicide MX3 for this season, and I actually took an engine from the Suicide MX3 because I'm building two 1,000 horsepower engines combined between the two for the Suicide MX3. So the engines that are in it right now are not going to be used. So I stole one and I threw it into Red Ted, and that's where I'm at now. Is I threw it in Red Ted and got it running, and then I made quite the intercooling piping for it. And while I was at it, I made a water and air intercooler, and I use this car as a test dummy and see what I like, learn how to weld, practice on this one. It's just a trial and error thing, and it's also a great looking car that works great. And then since I actually had a TIG welder that I could weld aluminum with, so I went nuts on the intercooler piping. I made it all pie cuts, and I've got a link up here for that. And I also installed a blow-off valve. I've never had a blow-off valve on pretty much any of my cars because I couldn't physically weld them on because you need to weld it to aluminum. So it's actually a really well-built car now. So it's got a KLZE in it, which is JDM 2.5 V6 dual overhead cam, and it makes a lot of power. It's a really fun car, and I love it. So I also installed a Raspberry Pi touchscreen dash, and it's amazing. I can tune from it. I can go on the internet. I can dad log. Literally, I can do anything I possibly could need with this dash. I honestly have no complaints. This is from a sponsor. It's called Raspberry Pi. I am in love with the dash, so definitely go check that out too. It's from Megasword platforms and others too. It's great. Gotta love it. And honestly, I really love this car, but I think I am going to sell it. If I do find a buyer, I think I might sell it, because what I'd like to do is continue with other builds. So if I sell this, I can put more money into the Suicide MX3 and break some world records, or I could build a fully built drift car. So there's other things I can do other than MX3, but I'm also like, I can't sell this for less than honestly $7,000 without it not being worth it, because this is my baby at the end of the day. I really do like this car, and that is that. It's clean. I do take care of it. I store it correctly, and I'm always adding power, doing it, changing it, and that's what these cars are about. Having fun, changing things, learning, and honestly teaching other people things as well. And that's what I've been doing with this too. So honestly, this car owes me nothing. I've got so many videos out of it. A lot of fun. I've let 7 or 8 people drive it, and they've had fun. It's been great. Honestly, I'd like to give it to somebody that will literally cherish this car. This is a beautiful car, but honestly, it's like either or. Like, if I sell it, great. If I don't, I'll keep it, and I will give her the abuse that she deserves. But honestly, love it. Love this car. It really turned out. Really, really turned out. So, if you like this episode, give it a thumbs up. And honestly, if you haven't subscribed yet, you probably should. So click that subscribe button, and we will see you in the next one. Until then, I will be giving this thing some extra reviews. All right, we'll see you in the next one. Like, comment, and subscribe.